Good morning, good day, or good night, depending on when you're watching this. This is my personal first ascent of the upper Nantahala, and I'm super excited to post this because this was such a fun run. It's a beautiful river, very fast, technically challenging. So many rocks. So many rocks. You can see that in the first rapid here, the first major rapid of the run, which basically is the first rapid other than that eddy move I showed at the beginning. I have a pretty decent line. It's nothing too crazy. The entrance rapid isn't too bad, but I get a little tripped up on an invisible rock. I don't understand how you're supposed to see some of these rocks unless you have like some sort of Superman X-ray vision, but alas, it's chocolate milk, and I could not see the rock. I take kind of a sneak line down what I believe to be PB&J. Not exactly the main line, but I was really proud of this, mostly because I picked my own line, and it worked out very well. I'm canoeing with the team that I met up with at the boat launch. I hadn't talked to anyone previously. They were kind enough to let me go along with them, and it ended up being a very fun float. There's a lot of sections that's just boogie water, and in those sections I took time to practice my eddies. Because this was a step-up run for me, the hardest river to date that I've done before this was the Akoi, and I was able to do that with a couple spills, but I was really pushing myself because I had a good group with me and someone was showing us down. Today, I did not want to push myself more than necessary. I just wanted to make sure that I was paddling well, that I could make all the moves that I wanted to, and I did a really good job of that. I had no swims throughout the entire rundown, but I did have something that is almost more interesting. I flipped, you'll see, at a easy section that I shouldn't have flipped at, but I did, and I was able to get a roll. You'll see that. That is towards the end. Still a ways to go before that. Just some more catching eddies in the meantime before some more of the major rapids. Now, one thing that I do want to point out, paddling with so many kayakers as a canoeist was an interesting experience, partially because I'm not used to paddling with kayakers, and most kayakers aren't that used to paddling with canoeists. And since, as a canoeist, a lot of times I like to break down lines and make sure that I'm going on the best possible lines instead of just paddling, taking forward strokes, and paddling possibly as aggressively as I could, which I do. I like to keep momentum when I feel that's appropriate, but I also like to catch a lot of eddies, and I like to really pause for a second and make sure that I'm going on the best possible lines, which for something like Troll Hole, which is coming up here, it's really just about speed. So I'm not going to slow down, and I'm just going to get as much speed as I can, go over it, very nice line, go over on the right, and I do a celebratory roll, because why not? But back to the main point, as one of the kayakers on the trip said, paddling behind either me or the other canoeist would occasionally make what should be a Class 2+ rapid into a Class 4 rapid, just because they had to avoid us going slower than they expected. Which, I believe this is the Mink, and this is one of those sections that was quite difficult to keep momentum and always go as fast as I could, because there's so many rocks you have to avoid, and when the rapids look like chocolate milk, it's very difficult to avoid the rocks, which I did pretty well there, to be fair. But you aren't always perfect, and there are so many rocks to hit on the upper Nantahala. If I had to pick my very favorite rapid on the upper Nantahala, I would have to give it to Troll Hole, just because it's not a very complicated rapid, but it's just a lot of fun to punch a big hole, especially when you know there's a very safe washout behind it, which I took the opportunity to practice a roll, but you can also just collect yourself if you happen to come out of your boat. After you get through the Manx section, there's really only one major rapid left, and that's S-turn, which, as you will see, I don't take a very good line on. I was told that there is a boof rock on the right, and I wanted to try that out. Instead, I take the worst, sneak line ever, and I lose all my momentum after I go over this, and it's really just like a little rock slide, and it takes all the fun out of it. Moderately embarrassing, but, you can only do so well on one river, especially as a PFD. I'm not complaining about how this went. We do actually have a spill on S-turn, and this was the only one of the entire trip, but he did quite well. He gets to safety, we get his paddle, all is okay. And now it's really just getting through some boogie water and making it down to the end of the float. There's a lot of fun stuff still left, because even after you finish the main part of the float, you still like the Nantahala. It's not like the river just suddenly dies and it's a bunch of flat water. It's a very continuous river, and that makes it a lot of fun. It's great practice to catch eddies. You can find so many things to do on this river, even if it's really more of just a read and run river. I get a fun little practice roll here, which the kayakers on the trip thought I actually flipped there, which is kind of funny. I still appreciated their encouragement that I hit a real roll, even if it wasn't an authentic roll. It was a whitewater roll, if not an organic roll. But there is an organic roll coming up here in a very strange spot. I kind of get away from the group here. I'm between two major points of it, and I flip on basically nothing. Don't know how I manage this, and it's super shallow here. My paddle is touching the bottom of the river. I eventually find a spot deep enough where I'm able to roll up, get into some strainers, have to dive back under, roll from an incredibly weird position, but I managed it, and I was able to hold my breath long enough. We take out here. I didn't actually know the takeout was here, so I clumsily pop over a rock, and I joined my family to go down to the lower Nantahala, since they decided to not run the upper Nantahala today, and it made for a very good trip. Because of the upper release, the water was up a lot, and it was raining as well, so that compounded the effect. My dad and my brother take a line that's way more interesting. I don't know how much of it you can see, but they hit the main part of the rapid head on, and it looks awesome. The photos from this day were crazy. This looks really strange to me because there's so much more water than there normally is. But I still pick a decent line. The curler actually jerks my canoe a little bit, and I don't get to boof the rock with momentum like I want to, so I kind of just slide down the side of it, which is okay. I didn't flip. I get to meet my family down at the bottom, and we prepare to take out, call it a day, and overall, it was a great trip. Very glad I had this experience, and I would absolutely do it again. Highly recommend that you try the Upper Nantahala if you have the chance.